Hey basketball players, today I'm going to be talking to you about if your triceps, which is the muscle on the back of your arm, why it's useful in basketball, and of course some of the ways that you can actually train that muscle to become stronger. So number one, why do we need triceps in basketball? Triceps are going to be able to help you be able to shoot that ball farther, but also that is going to allow you to be able to pass the ball harder and be able to dribble the ball harder and faster as well. This is a very highly utilized muscle in your body. Now there's a few ways that you can train it. So there's the isolation way of training that muscle, which is by doing tricep extensions, which is when you're extending or contracting that muscle. Some of the different ways you can do that is if you've got one of those big machines that you would normally see at a workout facility that you would pull down on the string and back up. That is one way that you can train that muscle, and that isolates mostly just that muscle, a little bit of your back, shoulder sometimes as well, but mostly that tricep muscle on the back. A nice quick tip that I can give you if you want bigger arms, one of the ways that you can get bigger arms is by actually training that tricep muscle. It's actually the largest muscle in your arm. When you see those big Hulk Hogan type of bodybuilders and they've got massive arms, it's actually a lot of that is their tricep. So if you want massive arms, that's one way that you can do it. But another way, if you don't have one of those massive machines, you can get a dumbbell, get into a chair that's stable, not a plastic chair. Right here am using a workout bench. These you can get on Amazon if you're lighter for maybe $100 to $150, or if you're bigger like myself, or if you want something that will last you a long time, you can get one like what I've got, which costs around $400 Canadian. But you put your back to the back of the chair, keep your back and the back of your butt to the back of the chair, get your shoulders back, and then bring your elbows in. You're going to go down to 90 degrees and then back up while keeping the elbows in. This is going to allow you to really train that tricep muscle. Now, what I would say to do is to get a weight that is comfortable for you to be able to do that exercise 10 to 12 reps for 3 sets. Or you can do what I like to explain to my players or have my players do, which is 10 to 12 reps for 4 sets. And the reason why I do 4 sets is I have my players alternate hands. So for example, right now, my left hand is above my right, and we are lifting the weight. Now, after I do 10 reps, I rest for 30 seconds, and then instead of my left hand being on top, I have my right hand on top. That way, if there's any way of the 2 arms, one arm being stronger than the other, which is usually your dominant arm, that really cuts down on your ability to overcompensate with one arm over the other. Now, another exercise that you can do is called a chest press. You can do a lay down chest press or a sitting up chest press. And I'm going to show you both right now. So a sitting up chest press works a couple of different muscles than if you were laying down. So number one is you do not want your arm to come below 90 degrees. You want to keep it at 90 degrees and then travel up. That's number one. As soon as you start bringing it down past 90 degrees, you can start possibly injuring your shoulder or start pulling and really not working the muscles that you really want. So, keep it at 90 degrees and then up. If you do not, or if you've never done this before, I suggest having a parent, a mirror at the very least, but a parent or another trainer there to assist you to have the proper form. We don't want to do any of these exercises with dumbbells with improper form. You also want to start with lower weight if you're younger. If you've never exercised or worked out at all, definitely do push-ups and things like that first before you do anything with dumbbells. So, there's two different ways to do a sitting up, what I call a sitting up chest press. So number one is you can go with one arm, keep it there, tighten your core, and then go up, and then back down, up, and then back down. The reason why we would use one arm is because now we're not just training our front of our shoulder, we're not just training our tricep or the side of our shoulder, we're also training our core at that point because we're trying to stay or sit straight up while doing this exact workout. And then remember, whatever you do on one side, you also want to do on the other side. And if you're going to do the one arm approach, I do suggest using lighter weights at first, obviously, but I also suggest using your weaker arm first. Because if you feel like, let's say this 25-pound weight is perfect for you, and then you go up and you go with your left hand, and you aim to try and do 10, but you end up only doing 8. Meanwhile, your right arm may be able to do 8 easily, but you're not able to, or let's say you do 10. Now, your right arm has done 10, your left arm's done 8. Your right arm is going to continue to be stronger than your left. And you really want it to be even on both sides. So that's why I always suggest using your weak arm or your weak side or whatever you're working out first before your strong side. If you're using two weights, same idea, 90 degrees on both arms, straight up. Some people do clack the weights together when they get up there. I suggest not. There's a few reasons for that, and that is if you clack it and it will start bouncing off, because of course you've got two heavy, in some cases heavy weights hitting each other. That's a force of momentum that's going to be bouncing back, and for one, it could help you lose the weight as in dropping it, especially if you're in your house. 25-pound weight on a wooden floor that I'm on, even though I've got an inch of rubber, doesn't matter, it's still going to do damage. So you don't want to clack the weights on top. Also, it can damage the weight, so you don't really want to do that. And then you do the same thing on both sides of your body. Now, when you get up top, do not straighten your arms. You want to keep them slightly bent. And the reason for that is, I've seen, when I used to work at the YMCA, I've seen so many people who are lifting weights. They straighten their arm, and if they're really pushing themselves, I'm not talking about 25 or 40-pound weights that I've got here in my house. I'm talking about people who are pushing themselves with 100 and 120-pound weights. They push it straight up, in this case straight up this way. Their arm, if it's too heavy for the ligaments in their arm, and they go totally straight, their arm will actually bend backwards, and of course that is an absolute major injury. One of the best basketball players I've ever played against was a girl. She did that, and yeah, it's not great. Okay, so welcome to the lay down portion of this exercise, and again, same thing here. You do not want your arms to go too far down. You can start pulling ligaments and stuff like that in your body. You don't want that. 90 degrees, and then you want to go up, semi-straight arms, still slightly bent, and then back down, and then back up. Again, you can do one at a time. You can also go straight out. And this all works those triceps. You can go one arm at a time as well. Again, keeping both shoulders and butt down to the bench. You do not want your butt coming up off the bench. That can start making issues with your body when it comes to injuries. And you can still use weights to your advantage, keeping that elbow in and then going up with that weight. This one would be a little bit lighter of a weight. You don't want to do this over your head. You want to do this to the side of your head, because if you decide, or your body decides it's too heavy and you drop the weight, at least it doesn't land on your head, because that can hurt. Another exercise I really like is with a medicine ball. Now, if you've got a ceiling that's high enough, you can push the medicine ball up, get a little bit of rotation on that ball, and that would be the same idea as if you were passing the ball, or what some people do when they're shooting the ball. But this is mostly for passing, but still working that tricep muscle. Now, have your other hand on there to balance it, just like if you're shooting, and then push the ball up like this. And then whatever you do on one side, you also do on the other. The offhand is only for balancing. It is not for pushing. Now, I hope that this video has helped you become a stronger basketball player. If it has, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.